Okay, right. Well, ba-da-ba-ba. Sorry about that.
Technical difficulties.
Yarp. Oh, good unto the Lord. Oh, yes. We on some form of political binge.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've calmed down now. It's fine.
good.
I got very heated when it comes to political talk. I can get very heated just because, it's very much something that is affecting me, and I think I get more heated now because it's going to affect my child.
I suppose so. Yeah.
And when you've got someone else to consider in the equation, someone's going to be younger than you, someone's going to be part of another generation, you're going to worry for them more than anything else. And it's not something, and I believe it should be something, it's not something that you see that's prevalent among the older generation, is that they don't seem to care because they're like, well, by the time any of this happens, I'll be dead. Why should I care? It's like, well, what about your children? What about your grandchildren? What about your great-grandchildren? What about the people that come after you? Do you not worry about the fate of the human race? And it's like, well, when I die, I die. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who obviously they don't believe in anything like reincarnation. They don't believe in anything like being reborn.
Do you believe in?
There's like death's the end, and the end is the end.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
I don't know what I believe in when it comes to that. Mainly because I'm not a very religious person.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to define it as a religion. I mean, like, how do you see life in terms of and death and rebirth? Like, do you see rebirth?
I can't really say because I've never experienced it.
Okay.
I don't know what's on the other side. I don't know what happens after death because I don't know. I can't make any judgment calls.
Were you raised Catholic?
No, I wasn't raised anything really.
Did you go to Catholic school?
No. I went to an infant school, junior school, secondary school, kind of public schools. Obviously we had religious studies, but we didn't really have anything other than that.
But your school wasn't religiously orientated.
No. I didn't come from a religiously orientated school. In fact, I've not come from any kind of religious background. I was baptized, of course, because that was a thing that people did in the 90s. They baptized every kid they fucking had.
I don't think I was baptized. I wasn't baptized, but I went to Catholic school though.
No, I never went to Catholic school.
I went for
I was never really brought up with any kind of religion. I think there's one thing I can thank my parents for is that they never imposed any kind of religion on me.
Yeah.
They kind of just let me make any decisions that I wanted to. I wouldn't say that I'm atheist, but I wouldn't say that I believe in any kind of religion. I'd say that I'm
impartial towards existence,
apathetic.
Okay.
Towards religion. I'm very much, how in sexuality you have like asexual, where you're not kind of you're not attracted to one particular thing. Yeah. I don't believe in any one particular thing. I think whatever happens in life happens, and you just kind of deal with the here and now. You deal with the here and now. You deal with what's going to be prevalent in your life. You deal with what's going to come for your kids afterwards, and then you've done what you can. There's not much more you can do. Then death comes, and whatever happens in death, if anything does happen after death, that's the next chapter. There's no point worrying about that now.
Yeah,
you'll worry about that when it happens.
But what if you could have? What if you could have done something?
Then
and you got there.
Then if there is some kind of person who judges me, then they'll judge me. I don't believe in kind of going up to the pearly gates and being judged by Saint David.
Peter.
Peter, whoever. As I said,
Peter, God.
I don't believe in the Egyptian way of thinking, where you'd go down and be taken down by Anubis and then be weighed by the scales, to see how you were in life.
So you don't want to be mummified?
I wouldn't want to be mummified.
Oh, okay.
No. I've already been told I'm being cremated.
Cancelling your mummification appointment I booked. I was joking.
I've already been told I'm being cremated. My wife is very adamant that I'm being cremated. Whereas I said I'd rather be buried with puppet mitts on my hands.
Why?
Well, if I die and then some zombie apocalypse happens, I'll be the most fantastic person to come up, with the hands coming out of the graves. You see one hand pop up, and then me with fucking rabbits coming up from his hands. I'll be the most fabulous zombie there ever was. But no, I'm being told that I'm going to be cremated and I'm going to be spread in the place I hate most,
Oh.
The ocean.
Oh, right. Just to spite you.
Because I have a fear of drowning. So yeah, Becca said it's just to spite me. She will spread my ashes if I die before her in the ocean.
Why do you have a fear of drowning?
Because I almost drowned.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, did you want to talk about? You don't.
I think it's reason enough, really.
Oh, okay.
I was in a swimming pool down at the Pyramid Centre in Portsmouth. I was only young at the time. I must have been 6, 7 years old. Just floating on one of those,
Lilo.
Not a lilo. You get the foam things.
Oh
foam flotation devices. I was laying on one of those, and the father of my brother, now sister's girlfriend at the time, decided it'd be really funny to swim underneath me and tip me over. I didn't know how to swim, so I sank like a fucking rock to the bottom because I didn't know how to bring myself back up to the surface. And it took an old friend of mine to jump in and grab me and pull me up to the surface. Because otherwise I would have died right there and then.
Do you swim now? Do you like the ocean?
No.
You can't. Can you swim?
I can doggy paddle.
But you can't. No, you can't swim though.
No.
Wow, I never knew that about you.
No, I can't swim. I can doggy paddle.
Oh.
I can't tread water. Can't do that at all.
Okay.
I can move in water by, somewhat of a breaststroke.
Have you ever thought about getting lessons?
No.
Why?
Don't want to. Simple as that. I don't want to. I'll teach my kid how to swim.
I was going to say, like,
I'll take them to swimming lessons.
Yeah.
But I shall stay in the shallow end, where it's nice and safe, and I can't quite drown because my head won't be underwater.
You should jump in on her lessons. You should get in and see if he'll teach you as well.
No.
Or her person teaching you.
No. It's not happening. We're born with the innate ability to swim, and we lose it over time. And
that's not true.
My fear of drowning has become that intense now.
No, babies supposedly can float, but they can't swim necessarily.
No,
Swimming is something you learn.
You are born with the knowledge of how to swim. It's a fact. You're born with the knowledge of how to swim, but you lose it over time.
Can we Google that? I don't believe you, because I could not.
You are born with the innate ability to swim. You see with children when they go to swimming lessons, a lot of the smaller kids will know innately how to swim. That's why we have water births. You can have a water birth and the baby will innately swim up to the surface.
Oh, I still don't kind of believe it, but fair enough.
Yeah, it's a true fact. To put it into perspective, this is how intense my fear is. I can't put my face under a shower.
You can't put your face under the shower head?
I can't go under a shower head with my face up. Just can't do it.
That's really weird.
Can't face it. When I have a bath, I can't put my head under the water.
I was going to say,
I just can't face doing it. That's how traumatic the experience was when I was a child, that I refused to put my head underwater. Absolutely refuse. I will put my head downwards in the shower and have it coming down here, so long as it's not going in my face. I will get a wet flannel and I will wipe my face. I will clean my face off, but I won't put my face anywhere near running water or underwater.
Would you empty a bottle of water in your face?
No. Couldn't do it. I have to sit my head down. I can't have it in my face whatsoever. That's how intense the trauma is.
What if somebody threw a bucket of water at you?
I would sputter and spurt, and I'd get really fucking angry.
Really? I kind of want to test it. What if it was beer?
It's still liquid.
I was going to say, how...
And then I'd stink of beer, which is even worse.
How solid can we get with this?
I've had ice poured on me. Ice is fine.
What about...
I did the
ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, the ice bucket challenge. I did that.
What about
But that was poured on my back rather than over my head.
Would you take sand in the face? A load of sand. Obviously with your eyes closed.
That's going to fucking irritate you, though, isn't it? Because you're going to spend weeks picking out, even if you have showers, you're going to have another shower and you still find fucking sand somewhere.
Only because you don't stick your face under the shower.
Mainly in your butt crack,
Why would it go in your butt crack if it's going in your face?
I don't know. Someone could throw sand at you and it goes over your back and then trickles down your back into your butthole. I don't know.
You just have to shower properly.
I do shower properly.
You don't stick your face under it. That's not showering properly.
I get a wet flannel and I wipe my face that way. That's how far the trauma spreads, right? Is that I can't put my face anywhere near water.
One day you'll overcome this.
No.
I think one day you will.
Doubtful.
I think one day you will. I really do.
Like when we went on our honeymoon. When me and Bex went on our honeymoon last year. She tried desperately to get me into the pool, and I went in a few times. Yeah, but I never did any lengths. I always stayed where I could touch the bottom, and I never put my face in the pool, ever.
I love swimming, but I hate being out in the ocean.
I'd have a shower in the hotel room, and I still wouldn't put my face under the shower head. Like I put my head under it, but not my face. Like, I'd have my face downwards, facing downwards. You know, because I just can't deal with that. I can't face having water in my face. Like when it's raining, if it's a light sheeting of rain, I don't mind that. I can look up and be like, oh, actually, this is refreshing.
I was going to say,
especially when the humidity of British weather.
Nice.
When you have a bit of rain, a nice little bit of sheet rain is okay.
What about like a full-on downpour in your face?
Full-on downpour. It's not quite like a shower, is it?
Like a nature's bukkake, you know. Like it's just it's just happening. You're like, there we go.
In fact, it's weird because in that way, I don't quite mind it because I can then control if the water goes on my face or not. You know,
well, it's rain. You know, it's fucking rain.
That's all it is. It's rain filled with a bit of crème. You know, that's all it is.
All right. Okay. Curveball question for you. You ready for this?
I am now.
If you can have, do you watch The Boys?
No.
Okay. If you can have any superpower, one super, and you have to have it. You have to have one superpower. Okay, and it's one, and you're not allowed to go like, I'd have the ability to have all the superpowers. You can't. No, you can't play those rules. And if you demand more questions about the nature of the superpower, I'd be happy to answer them. But you have to have one superpower, preferably a classic superpower, say flight and visibility. Breathe underwater.
There's already a problem with this question.
All right. What?
The problem with that question is that any one superpower needs to have another for it to work.
What do you mean?
You can't never just have one superpower.
Yeah, you can.
You can't. If you watch this, there's this guy on TikTok who does this, where he takes these superpowers and he says, well, you need to have these other superpowers in order to be able to do it as well. So
yeah. But okay.
To answer your question,
excuse me. That aside. Okay, this is one of the points is that it's both a gift and a curse. So you have to accept one essentially curse, but you get to kind of control the parameters of it.
So a boon and a curse.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously you're like, oh, if you run really fast, if you run too fast, obviously then your entire body is just going to completely, come to pieces as you're running. Are your bones going to be able to put up with the amount of force and pressure? Yada yada, I get it, like all of the scientific parameters and whatnot. But obviously you could run so fast that might not affect you as well. So you could just run faster than everybody else. But if you run too fast, obviously you're going to hurt yourself. So that being in mind,
super speed needs super strength.
Yeah.
It needs to run simultaneously. It needs to run side by side. But put any of that aside, okay, if you could have any superpower that doesn't need to have a superpower alongside it.
Telekinesis, you don't need any other fucking superpower with it.
You do, you need super intelligence.
No, you don't.
Anyway.
Why would you need super intelligence in order to move an object from across the room? You just be like, I'm going to move that chain. You just go, no. You don't need to be like, oh, the fucking, the fucking square root of pi and shit.
I don't know the intricacies of it.
I'd like to meet this man and have a full-on annoying anal discussion about superpowers with him, because I reckon I could talk his ear off.
Well, good luck. He's Welsh.
Oh, even better. So most of my best mates growing up are all fucking Welsh.
If I was to have one superpower that didn't need to have anything alongside it, then I'd have to say the ability to pause local time.
Pause local. How local are we talking here?
Local time is within 100 meters.
Okay, so you'd be able to pause time within 100 meters of yourself then.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool superpower.
Mainly to
What would you do? What would be your first thing that you would
Well,
do?
it'd be a superpower that would automatically make me a supervillain because the amount of people I'd pants within that vicinity.
No, so you'd be like you'd
No,
just be
it'd be more for convenience than anything else.
but an
know?
inconvenience for everybody else.
I wouldn't try to inconvenience
You'd be a
everyone
menace.
else.
You'd be a
It'd
menace, Benjamin.
It'd be more just to convenience myself. If I'd made a mistake, right? I'd say the ability to pause local time and rewind by about 30 seconds.
Pause and rewind.
Pause and rewind by about 30 seconds.
Okay, but bear in mind as well. So the rest of the world also has to keep going as your time is paused as well, though. With outside of that,
and this is the problem that you
parameters.
find.
Yeah.
You need to have other superpowers to go alongside.
So how
things.
far forwards would society move? And then inside, you've got your not only 30 seconds, but you can pause it for however long you want to. So you could like sit there with your horse and carriage, and everyone else is like outside of 100 meters has got flying cars by all the intents and purposes.
All right,
and obviously, and obviously, all the people in your 100 meters have all got no pants on because you've run around with pants.
It would be quite funny. Obviously, yeah, time still has to run relative to what's happening, which obviously proves an issue because if you want to be able to pause local time, you want to be able to pause time like immeasurably. You're going to be able to pause time globally in order to.
I think that's probably the best way to do it.
If you pause time globally, that means you also pause the rotation of the Earth. If you pause the rotation of the Earth, we then lose any kind of, air that we breathe because of the rotation. Because the rotation of the Earth is what helps in terms of gravity. And what helps in terms of us having the oxygen that we breathe.
Yeah, but you're just you're basically putting all of that under the heading of actual movement. So if you just say like, right, what are we defining as what comes under the heading of time? You're making me really want to watch the X-Men movie now. Yeah. If I could save time in a bottle.
Well, let's change event. The ability to slow time down to each second that would have passed is actually like a millisecond. Let's say that.
Okay.
So each second, so say 1 would be.
Okay,
it's just almost ever long. 1. And it just kind of keeps going, and you can see the time difference too.
I think
you can see how the time difference there works.
Your superpower would work as long as you slow down all of the time in the universe. So as long as everything, and then that goes towards with every object, both celestial and terrestrial, you would be fine because it would mean as well that all standardized variants of physics would also then have to move within the temporal zone that you'd put them in as well. So even they, so it would
it'd
still
be contained within our own specific universe. It wouldn't be contained within.
Exactly. So the Earth would still produce its oxygen, it would just produce it at a different rate. And because of the fact of the size of you, you're not going to take up any more oxygen. So you're not going to breathe everybody's oxygen in, are you?
I mean, you look at the Flash, who has super speed. Obviously, with his super speed, he has to slow time down relevant for himself. Although time still works in the same speed as it usually does, the way he moves would be faster than time would allow. Essentially, that's what the slowing down of time would be. Slowing down of time would need to include super speed because you'd be moving at such an intense speed in comparison to relative time that you'd essentially be using super speed as well as slowing down time.
Not strictly true. You would just be moving fast in relative fact to everybody else around you. They would be moving slower. You'd still be moving at the same rate that you would normally move.
But if you walked past someone
it would look like to them you were moving really fast, but in matter of fact, you're still moving at the same pace.
Depending what the speed is in that person's relevant time, you could just walk slowly, casually past them, but in their time, you've whizzed past and you've caused an airflow.
Not strictly true, because of the fact that it's just down to their perceptual vision of you. It's not down to the actual speed that you're moving.
No, because of the speed of time.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're moving the same pace at a billionth of a second, right?
Yeah.
If you were to then put that in relation to actual time, it would cause an airflow. It would cause a vortex.
Yeah, but such a minor one. It would be so minor.
No, it would cause much more.
It would
just
minor.
strolling past someone in your time frame would then cause a vortex, which would then mean someone feels a very strong breeze in their own time relevant, because you've gone by so quickly. You've then moved the air around you.
Yeah.
To then create this vortex and to create this air bubble.
Yeah, but
so that people, when you go past, they're going to hear vroom. Where for you,
but you haven't sped yourself up. Though you've just slowed them down, regardless of relation to them. So
but
you're still
sped up.
You're not sped up. You're at the same rate.
They're slowed down, but in their mind, they're still moving relevant to their own time frame, which means you still have to speed up.
Yeah, but also then you also got to remember as well that their brain is then going to be slowed down as well.
And here we come into the intricacies of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So and then obviously naturally the gravitational world around you, including and up to all a breeze and wind creation and resistance and everything else, would still you would still be under the same guise of the same physics that you always were, in the same way that everybody else is. The only difference is that they would be moving slower and the world would obviously be moving slower. The problem is that everybody would then, you would just slow everybody's life down, so they would just be able to do less. You wouldn't be able to necessarily hurt anybody by how fast you were moving. If you punch someone, it would just kind of semi topple them over. It wouldn't you wouldn't be able to kill someone by punching them. It wouldn't make you ultra strong or faster than them necessarily. It just makes
that's
you
the problem with superpowers.
Yeah,
they come with their own intricacies and their own delicacies.
Exactly, and that's why Batman is the best,
because he has none.
Batman is the best superhero ever.
Well, he's not a superhero.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
He's not a superhero. He's a comic book hero because he doesn't have any superpowers. His superpower is being super rich.
He's technically also kind of really smart though as well.
He's very smart, but again, that's learned. I wouldn't call that a superpower as such. Look at Stephen Hawking, very smart. That's not a superpower.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Neil deGrasse Tyson, very smart. Not a superpower.
They do make everybody else look like monkeys, though, as well. To be fair,
it's not a superpower. Though.
Yeah, you're right.
What would you have then? What would be your go-to superpower?
That's a very good question.
You asked me the question. It's time to bounce it back on you.
I'd have the power if I could have any superpower.
You got a lot to choose from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I'd like I don't know, I don't want to overcomplicate it too much. I'd like to kind of die probably on the spot the moment that I hit 100, but then not have, and then but be invincible and live a normal life all the way up to that. 100 years seems like a really good amount of time to live.
I wouldn't call that a superpower. I'd call that a genie wish.
Yeah, kind of. But then that's kind of what a superpower is, really, though, almost, isn't it? I'd want Lex Luthor's powers, so he never gets any disease or infection or anything like that. I don't want that just sounds like fucking a
Lex
nightmare.
Luthor's power came from the power of medicine. It didn't come from a superpower, really, did it?
It was still a
Lex
superpower.
Luthor was just very intelligent. He was able to develop something. It wasn't a superpower like Superman has, or like the Flash has.
Yeah, but then you say that, and I can just say the Hulk, for example. He developed that from being very smart, and then he had a science accident, which then gave him superpowers. Even though he's completely covered in gamma radiation, there's a load of stuff everyone's ignoring, whereby basically if the Hulk actually entered any room or got close to anybody, that person would die from gamma poisoning.
Chernobyl.
Because
he'd be a walking Chernobyl.
He would indeed be a walking Chernobyl. Every person he'd walk next to, your arteries and veins would just spill open, and you would just basically hemorrhage, your entire body just falls to pieces.
Yeah, but no, you do the same phrase with Captain America as well. Like the way Captain America was created, really, he shouldn't have lasted as long as he did. The effect should have worn off, and he would have gone back to the scrawny person that he was. Because the way that he was creating the science that they used should have had a cool down period.
Really? Oh, they'd probably justify that through the fact that he was cryogenically frozen, though, wouldn't they? And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, but then he's frozen."
Well, they took the piss out of Mr. Austin Powers, didn't they? When he got cryogenically frozen in 1969, back in the 90s, and then back in the early noughties, they kind of took the mick out of that power. But no, Captain America, he wasn't.
It's just loads of fancy injections, really, isn't he?
Yeah, it was just a load of fancy dancy medication, which, like any medication or any science experiment, has a cooling off period.
So basically, there's an argument here though that probably a lot of people ignored, whereby the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe is just a crack dream from Captain America, who's imagining all of this is happening. He's just a homeless dude down an alley, just pumping crack into himself.
It's a theory.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a theory. The same with The Walking Dead. Like everyone said that it's all just a coma that Rick's in.
Oh yeah.
But no, the whole basis of the Avengers, apart from a select few of them, where basically they either have no superpowers whatsoever, or the powers that they have were given to them via man-made science experiments and mechanics, which should have a cooling off period. There are a select few, which wouldn't be subject to that. For example, Thor, the literal god of thunder.
Yeah, exactly.
He is a god, therefore he does not have superpowers. He is a deity. That's not a superpower. He has god powers.
Yeah.
That's not a superpower. Loki is the same. God of mischief. He's a god. It's a deity power, not a superpower. That's the difference between superpowers and religious godlike powers. There's a difference.
I was going to say, could you say, though, a god could have superpowers, though?
No, a god doesn't have superpowers as such. Superpowers is very much its own kind of category. Gods have deital powers. They have the powers of gods. Also,
another thing, going back to Batman, who I could talk about all evening, really, to be fair, is that he's also an absolute unit. If you look at Batman, like Bruce Wayne, is an absolute fucking tank, dude. That guy's enormous. Have you seen this?
He's a billionaire philanthropist. What else is he going to do other than work out and
goes to the gym, man?
And
it's
pumps iron and then goes home, has a protein sandwich, and then fucks off.
Oh yeah.
You move like this.
Oh no.
It's all right, we'll better move it back.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. Wait, bit more. Can you point it more towards Ben? Towards Ben. Nice, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. Brilliant. Cheers. They have deital powers rather than superpowers as such. I'd say they have godlike powers, but they're not superpowers.
One second, dude. Are you back this evening?
No, I'm back tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you said you were going out this evening.
Yeah, no, going to Kirsten's, but I'll be back.
I thought we were doing the food plan this evening, so you wanted to order.
Yeah, we can do it over text, or maybe do it tomorrow.
Yeah, dude. You look loads like Eminem right now.
Cool.
No worries, man.
All right, good to see you.
See you later. Have a good one.
Love you, bro. That was my housemate Jack, who is just leaving the room and disrupted the camera angle. I'm sorry if it's slightly skewed. Anybody?
He's gonna go get lewd.
Maybe. We hope. Here's to Jack. Absolutely.
And the loss of my sex life at the moment.
I'm so telling Becky you said that.
Well, we can't because we only had sex like 2 days ago.
All over the internet as well.
We only had sex like 2 days ago, so it's fine. So there's
anyway,
a difference
Batman
between superpowers.
Is an absolute tank.
Batman is a billionaire philanthropist who does nothing with his time apart from go to fancy dinners, work out in the gym during the day, and fight crime at night.
And does his homework though as well. He knows loads about like the his like kind of pardon me, like corporate side and shit of like his.
So what else is he going to do? You know, he doesn't do much other than that. So
You
of
ever-
course he's going to be jacked to shit.
You ever played any of the Arkham series?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, man. I love like just being him in the city and like just coming across like some unsuspecting person.
And that's why the Joker is always seen as so scrawny, because he doesn't work out. He's very mindful. He uses his mind.
Yeah.
The Joker, he leaves the heavy lifting to the grunts. He uses everything to do with his mind.
But then that's like that's one of the genius aspects of that entire universe is the fact that there's so many of the of Batman's like the villains that he goes up against are of such variation to him, whereby that and he goes up against everything. He goes up against people that are superpowers. He goes up against like literally god level like figures, and he also goes up against like people that are just kind of like hurt by society as well, like the potential jokers who nobody the origin story of him is fashionably changes kind of like every 3 years at this point
And
now.
it's remembering as well that the battle between the Batman and the Joker is that there's no superpowers involved whatsoever.
Yeah,
They are just two men, both very smart. One of them is using his smart for good. The other one is using his smart for bad. There's no superpowers there at all. And that's what makes them the most relatable comic book characters. Both of them is because there is no superpower involved. They are both men, mortal men.
but then there's the beautiful. That's a very good point actually, but there's the side as well which is that the good guy is miserable and the bad guy is happy.
The bad guy's happy because he's clinically insane.
Exactly, and then the good guy's
happy because he sees the good and bad, whereas the person who's on the bad doesn't see the good; they see only the bad, and their class is clinically insane. Where do you think Harley Quinn came from?
Yeah, naturally. Yeah.
She was the original psychiatrist that was given to Mr. Joker, and then he turned her for his insaneness and his just the way that he has with people. And you see elements of the Joker in everyday society. You see him in people. You see him in so many different people, and you can see the resemblance that some people might have when it comes to the mind of the Joker, rather than the visualization that we have of the Joker himself, but of the brain capacity and the way that the Joker acts, the way the Joker does things. You can see it in the face of mortal people and people you see in the public eye. Again, we're moving back to politics. Bojo. Bojo has the Joker mind.
I am not moving back onto politics, and no, you can't compare anybody to the fucking Joker. But you can if you want to, but like, no, come on. Who's your favorite Robin?
My favorite Robin. Oh, what was that kid show when we were all kids? Teen Titans. That's the one.
Yeah, I can't remember which one he is.
Teen Titans.
There's technically 2 Robins in that show as well.
The earlier one.
Yeah. What do you mean? Yeah, what, the original Teen Titans?
The original Teen Titans.
Yeah. There's 2 Robins in that. Slade is technically a Robin, I think, because he's come from the. He's born out of the Red Hood, I think, and that is not the guy, because there was 3 of them. There were technically 4 Robins, I think, but there's Tim Drake. And then there's the one who became Nightwing, and then there's the one who kind of broke bad, and that's the one that the Joker got hold of and turned insane, and then he turned into the Red Hood. He turned into the Red Hood, and then subsequently the rumor was that the Red Hood was the one who turned into Slade. So it's actually a Robin versus Robin almost, which is the reason why in the comic, which is easily my favorite episode of all of Teen Titans as well, which is the one where Slade kicks the shit out of him, even though he's just imagining him. He's never actually there in the first place. Oh no, it's a gas that's sprayed from the mask in the basement, wasn't it?
Something like that.
And that's what makes him imagine it. No, but yeah, because it's technically him versus himself as well. That's a great episode. That's a fucking great episode.
I don't get too much into comic book characters. I must admit, I'm not very much into my comic book characters. I don't have time to. You know, I live such a. It's weird. I live a very uneventful life, but I do too much to really get involved in other stuff.
Well, it's like what you were saying earlier. It's like when you. The problem is that when you start rolling in the life of adulting,
it's when you start
fall
getting into you fall into a rigmarole.
This is the problem with like there's so much with society that really fucking annoying. Where it's like it's not just water bills and utilities and rent and finding a place and then keeping up with your friends and making sure you see your missus and you make sure you have time for her and then by the way there's the council tax and then there's the by the way they've closed the road down there so now you can't get to work on time and now you're gonna have to be there and by the way we've now changed everything that we do at work now and then all of that stuff just completely cuts out so much of any of the other kind of things where eventually you finish a day of all of that and you're like I'm just gonna watch a TV show. When do you find time for comics and, you know...
Just a disclaimer from, I think every millennial can basically attest to this. Adult life sucks. Adult life sucks, right? We were given this trial period when we were kids to grow up and we were told...
Keep talking, I can hear you. I'm going to grab another beer.
That as adults, we were told that, you know, we were told as kids, oh yeah, when you grow up to be an adult, it's going to be fun. You're gonna do so much as an adult. You're gonna have so much freedom. Like fuck did we have freedom when we became adults, right? We managed to keep hold of a shred of freedom when we went to university. University was the only way we managed to keep onto a moniker of any kind of freedom that we would have pre-adult life. The moment you left uni, you got slapped in the face, right? Because unless you did what I did, which was move into a rented place before student accommodation, it's fucking gone warm. That's why.
Chin it, finish it. Don't waste good beer, bro. Yeah, nice one. I was gonna say these are the last beers I have in the building, I think. So after that, it's hard liquor.
That's all right. I'll probably stop after this.
Okay.
But yeah, when it comes to adult life, right, we managed to keep a sliver of freedom by going to university, by living it up for 3-4 years, regardless of how long you went to university for. And then, unless you do what I did, which was get into your own place by second year, and rent a place with your missus, and you know about adult life already. By the time you leave uni, you either go back to your parents' house and then save up to do something there, or you get slapped in the fucking face with a big bass fish, right? And then told, slap, adult life. Slap, you don't need to pay for your own place now. Slap, council tax. Slap, energy bill. Slap, electricity bill. Slap, internet. Slap, life. Right? And you've then got to be like, fuck, I've got no student loan to help me. I've been working a part-time job, but that's not going to pay my bills. You know, a part-time job's not going to pay my rent. A part-time job's not going to pay for me to have a deposit.
Cheers. Fucking cheers, bro. This is why people drink.
It is. It's the entire reason people drink. I get why there's alcoholics in this world now, especially younger alcoholics now. You're seeing alcoholics in their 20s, right? And I understand why now. I used to look at them when I was. I mean, we're only going back a few years, but I was like 24, 25, and I just left uni. And I was like, right, I've had my time on drinking. I'm done with consistent drinking.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Right, I'm done with consistent drinking. Yeah. I'm not going to drink at all, but unless there's a special occasion. By the way, I class this as a special occasion, hence why I'm drinking. But there's other people who they won't give up on that. They won't give up on that thing. They will use alcohol as a crutch, right? And you'll find more and more people of our age, of our place in the world, who are drinking more and more and more because that's what they cling to in order to just survive, in order to just get through the day. Now, I don't believe in drinking just to survive for a day. Like, I don't touch alcohol unless it's a special occasion, as I just said. Like, I can go out and have a drink, but I don't drink at home. Like, I completely separate alcohol from home. Completely. Like, I work from home. So
rub it in.
So I work at 8. I work anywhere between 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Right. But when I finish work, I don't immediately think I need a beer, or I need a drink to get through today. I think I finished work now. I can do what I want to, and some things and you'll find this with people who work from home as well. A lot of people who work from home is that they find it very hard to separate between work life and home life. And you get the same with people who work in an office as well. Pre-pandemic, you had it to some degree. Post-pandemic, with a lot of people still working from home, you're finding it to a much more larger extent. Because people are turning to alcohol as a crutch because of how fucked the world is, essentially. How fucked our economy is, how fucked our lives are right now. For people who are just growing up and trying to get onto the property ladder, who are trying to get decent jobs, who are trying to make a career, they can't. So what do they turn to? They turn to the thing that's going to make them feel nice. They turn to alcohol. They turn to weed. They turn to whatever recreational drug they want to take. They turn to psychological and mental abuse. They turn to anything that's going to give them that high. They're going to turn to anything that makes them feel good.
There's a very interesting statistic I heard recently, though, which was that a lot more people who drink are at the moment, and this is something that I think is a testament to what you were saying about how fucking crazy shit is right now, is that a lot of people who drink, not necessarily people that you would define as alcoholics, but a lot more people who drink are happier than people who don't. Statistically,
it's a statistic. I can't even speak it now. It's a statistic. You can tell I've barely eaten all day.
I know.
It's a statistic.
I told you should have got 2 of those vegan sausage rolls that we were going past
right?
earlier, man. You should so have gotten 2 of them. Do you want? I've got some.
It's all right. Don't worry. I'll pick up some food on the way home.
I was gonna say I got some snacks. Do you want
no, I'll pick up some food on the way home. It's
I
fine.
can hook you up, bro. I got Doritos.
No. Don't worry about it.
I got popcorn, which is salt and sweet and salted.
Don't eat it.
What is wrong with you?
I'm very specific about the food I eat.
Very Pacific.
Pacific, as you would say.
Very Pacific.
I'm very specific.
Excuse me, it's Pacific Ocean.
At least I said it right.
I'm very specific.
Even while half pissed. No, it's a statistic that I'm not sure is entirely true, because alcohol has different effects on different people.
Yeah, but no. The reason why I think it is, though, is because I think it's down to what you were saying, though. I think that there is this amalgamation of variables which are just absolutely down. I don't think it's nobody's. The problem is that it's nobody's fault. It's loads of people's faults. The reason why loads of things are the way that they are, that feel like it's beating you down, and it feels like it's against you, and it feels like sometimes.
Well, the thing is, if we treated alcohol like we treated weed, we wouldn't be selling alcohol.
No.
And alcohol, I'd say, is statistically worse than cannabis.
I would agree. I agree with you.
I said alcohol is statistically worse than ketamine.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm not saying it is or isn't. I just have no idea.
I'd say alcohol needs to be classed as a Class C drug. Because it is.
I think that our relationship with alcohol, though, as well as a species, goes back so far. And when done correctly with the right company and especially the right company, the right zeal of components, the right people around you, you can because it's. Do you want to know as well what else is healthy? Is fucking venting. Sitting and I felt so much better when I was on the phone to you yesterday, and I had Emily next to me, and Emily just had her hand on my shoulder. I was just sat on the phone to you, and I just vented about everything that was annoying me in that specific moment. And you know what? After I'd gotten off the phone to you, I didn't want to feel good, but I felt a lot better. I felt so much better after venting, and it's something that I feel like alcohol can assist with, and it's something as well with a combination of what you've said there is the amount. I think it's where you have binge culture combined with this upset. I think whereby, and obviously you're coming from that angle, saying like, this kind of alcoholic tendency.
Yeah.
Where people, it's too much, it's overdone eventually, and you go way past the point of venting and it being, it's lots of sugar and quite a bit of water, and sitting with somebody and you're having a proper conversation with like, you forget about your phone because you're pissed.
Yeah.
That's the reason why people go like, oh shit, forgot to text and miss, oh no, I'm in trouble now. Like, it's the reason why that's a fucking thing is because of the fact that you forgot anybody else in the world existed other than the person in front of you, because you got so ingratiated, so engrossed in the conversation in front of you, because alcohol can help to narrow your focus, but it can also help to fucking narrow your mind,
narrow your judgment.
Absolutely, but it's
that's part of the reason why I pretty much gave up alcohol in a large degree,
because sometimes it runs away with you.
I found I made too many mistakes while drinking. Where me and my missus had too many arguments, I ended up expressing things that really shouldn't have been said when I'm pissed, and I found it was more of a detriment for me than an assistance. It was a hindrance rather than an assistance.
Yes.
So I made the choice,
the judgment,
the judgment call, the choice to say, well, actually, once I finish uni, I'm gonna try and knock it on the head as much as I can, and not rely on it. Uni was great because there was a drinking culture there. There was a binge culture there. You couldn't go out and not drink, right?
Yeah.
And when I first came to uni, and this is a true story, when I first came to uni, my freshers week, I didn't touch a single drop of alcohol because I'd come into university alcohol free.
Did you not drink before uni?
No.
Oh, bollocks.
Well, no, I did.
I was going to say, because
I did.
You're talking about your...
But 6 months before I started university, I'd quit drinking.
Yeah. Because you didn't do any harder, if you don't mind me, are you all right talking about drugs and whatnot?
Oh, I haven't done any drugs since I was about 17 years old.
I'd say you're all right talking about this now, though, right?
Yeah, I'm all right talking about it. I haven't done any drugs since I was about 17 years old.
But you did harder stuff, though, when you were younger. But you didn't drink alcohol, though, when you were younger, though.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
But there was a period of time in my life where I'd already quit the hard drugs, and I already basically quit drugs altogether. Yeah. And I thought to myself, well, alcohol's a drug. So
it is. Alcohol's a drug. Caffeine's a drug. Sugar's a drug.
So I said,
all of it. But dude, fucking paracetamol's a drug. Like all of it's a drug. The problem is that people start going like they start labeling things under what they would like, and the problem is that it's. Look, if it's a drug, it's a fucking drug. Okay. Yeah. The problem is that it's obviously different drugs have different types of effects. They have different types of that same drug has a different effect on me as it has to you.
We've got to think about the detriments.
There's just so many variables within all of these equations, and each one of us is our own fucking equation. We have to think about it from this angle that we're more complicated than we think, and what you put into yourself matters, because what you put into yourself is going to come out at some point, like, and it'll come out in the form of how you speak to people. It'll come out in the form of your judgment calls. It'll come out in all of that. And if you just look after yourself, if you just care about how you look at life and how you perceive the world around you, how you educate yourself, how you what you put into your body in terms of food.
Thank you, Jamie Giorgio. Thank you for pandas.
If you look at how you take care of the people around you, how you support them.
Thank you for the checkered flag as well. Thank you.
Then a fucking beer at the end of the day is not the end of the world.
No.
And it's fine. And it can be. You know what? I'm going to say it can be good for you. But if you turn that beer into 12 unnecessarily and you spend the rest of your rent on doing it and you turn into an absolute cunt handle, and that's just a small part of what can happen to it. Or you isolate yourself from everybody else around you and you don't talk about your feelings like so many fucking dudes and women as well and everybody else under the fucking sun. I'm not fucking saying that anybody else in the LGBTQ community should be fucking isolated at all. I'm talking about every single last fucking person, even if you think of yourself as an alien. We all matter because of the fact that everybody has to. If you don't look, we all breathe the same oxygen, and we fucking, we have the opportunity to turn the fucking cogs of the future. So
thank you, Jamie Dodger. Thank you.
So you got to be able to make sure that we look after not just ourselves, but we look after ourselves so that we can look after each other.
Yeah, definitely.
If you can't help yourself up the mountain, how can you be fucking expected to help anybody else?
Yeah, no, I get you. Like the way I
sorry for that rant there.
No, that's all right.
Like,
that's not a problem at all. Like I said, the way I see things is kind of like you got to look at, if everything's a drug, you got to see what's more detrimental to you, and what's going to be kind of what is included in normal life. Now,
patterns recognition.
The thing is, a lot of people can't live without sugar. Right, sugar is very much. I certainly can't live without sugar. Sugar is a big part of my life, and I cannot live without it. Okay, I love me some sugar.
I love sugar. I love sugar, bro.
Give me some sugar. I am your neighbor, as Outcast would say. But alcohol, I can do without.
I've got chocolate. I've got some chocolate.
I'm good. It's all right.
I've got dairy milk.
That's all right. I'm not diabetic yet.
I'm gonna hook you up.
I'm not diabetic yet. It's
I got
fine.
that sweet shit.
You're more than welcome, man. Cheers, Jamie. Cheers, James. Yeah. So alcohol, I can live without, and I could definitely live the rest of my life without touching a single drop of alcohol. I could finish today
in the current
regime
and climax of existence.
In the current climate of existence, I could finish this beer and say, I'm not drinking anymore.
Bullshit.
And I'd stick to that.
Utter bullshit.
I'd stick to that.
I reckon you could do 4 or 5 months. I can do 4 or 5 months, maybe even a year and a half. But then the problem is that you'd end up on the stage with me, or you'd bump into a scenario whereby it's all kind of like popping off.
Yeah, but that then comes down to peer pressure. That's not down to down to your own individual choice. That's down to peer pressure.
You need to not know me. This is the problem. Is that this, like, if you want to dependency on making sure that the problem is that I'm absolutely,
if the stars aligned correctly, I could not drop a single drop of alcohol. I could not drink a single drop of alcohol for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but under those guidelines, that'd be the same for everybody else. Whoever lived, or even if you were a supreme alcoholic, if you promised yourself waking up,
it's having the ability to say no.
It's not just that though.
You've got to have the willpower to say no.
Sorry. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've managed to avoid, weed and drugs and all that for a long time. For 13 years now, I managed to avoid it. Even though I've been around people who smoke it, who do drugs.
It's terrible.
I've been around those people for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've been offered it several times. Each time I've said no.
Yeah.
And each time I felt better for it, because I know what I'm doing is the right choice for me.
For you, absolutely.
So if for me the right choice is saying no to alcohol, I would say no. And I know that, and I would stick to it. When I make a resolution, those answers are things that I stick to.
Yeah.
And I try not, and I do my best not to. I'm not saying that it's an absolute definite, but I try my very best to stick on that path. To stay on that path.
I respect the fuck out of that. I love that. Absolutely.
Like like there was a time when I had a kidney problem.
Here's to not drinking.
It's not drinking. What was someone drinking cans of Budweiser?
Here's to not drinking.
There was a time when I thought I had a chronic kidney disease. So while I was having tests done, they said, if you can avoid sugary drinks, please do. The doctor said that. I said, right, okay, fair enough. Throw out my Pepsi, throw out our Fanta, throw out any Monster that I had, throw out all the energy drinks, and for 6 months, I did not touch a single sugary drink other than squash. And that's all I drank for 6 months. Right? Then things came back and they said, oh, your kidneys are perfectly healthy. I was like, great, I can now have my energy drinks again. Yeah. So I started drinking them again because I made that choice.
Yeah.
But the fact that I made the choice beforehand to get rid of fizzy drinks, to get rid of energy drinks, and to have that willpower to stay away from them, even though they were usually the cheaper option.
Yeah.
You know, I still only had squash, only had flavored water. I only had water. I only had whatever, you know. I don't do hot drinks. I'm not a hot drinks person, so I don't drink tea or coffee.
I always offer you
So-
coffee. My problem is that I offer everybody coffee.
I'm
and tea,
always
and
able to
like,
avoid
yeah.
coffee because I don't drink hot drinks.
Yeah.
Like, hot drinks don't mesh well with me. They're too hot for my throat. Like I barely even do hot dinners. You know, that's the thing for me. I'm a cold food and drink person. But the fact that I was able to do that and stick to that mentality, but make the choice if I wanted to go back onto sugary drinks and energy drinks and things like that. That was a choice of my own regard. Yeah, it's essentially your own choice of slow self-suicide, but it's a choice at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And you'll find that with alcohol, you'll find that with drugs, you'll find that with anything.
Absolutely.
It's all down to individual choice and individual willpower. And willpower is the thing that drives you in terms of making those decisions. If you don't have that willpower, you're going to be more susceptible and more impressionable to things. You're more likely to do hard drugs if you're more impressionable, if you're not able to make those decisions and not commit to those decisions. I learned that mistake. I made that mistake. It's a learning curve. I learned from it. I grew because of it. And I learned not to make the same mistakes again.
Yeah.
If you make the same mistake once, that's a mistake. That's can't always be held on you.
Fool me once.
That is fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 5 times, you've got a fucking problem. Well, I've got a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because apparently I can't stop. You know, you've got to know where the boundary is. You've got to know when to stop, when to bring things into your life, when to take them out of your life, when to take them out of the equation. It's hard in some cases and in some particular circumstances to take yourself out of an equation.
Yeah.
But when it comes to things like alcohol, when it comes to things you can control, like your intake of something, then try and stick to your resolve, stick to your, you know, the way that you do things.
I need to go for another piss, man. I'm sorry.
You broke the golden seal.
I have
That's what happens.
a child bladder right now. Jeez.
Broken the golden seal. Someone can't handle their liquor. Having to piss too much. Anyway, as I said, thank you, James, for sending the checkered flags and the donuts and the ice cream cone and the panda. Thank you very much. It is very much appreciated. You don't have to send anything like that. The fact that you're here is enough for me. The fact that you were here means enough to me. So thank you for that. Don't ask for anything from anyone apart from your presence. We don't ask for anything more than that. We don't ask for any gifts. We don't ask for anything to be given to us. So long as your presence is here, that's fine for us.
Oh,
Bladder feeling okay now?
oh, phenomenal. Cheers. Did you know
Cheers.
that you can build up an intolerance to cyanide?
Mm-hmm. If you take small enough doses of it every day, you can.
Absolutely. Fucking amazing, right? Isn't that fascinating? Like, and
It's certainly something.
There's a tribute though as well that, like, you know, all poisons can be, you know, like,
You can
all
build
most
an immunity
poisons.
to any poison, provided you take small amounts of it.
I was gonna
per
say
day.
most poisons, probably not all, but yeah, you're right.
Well, how do you think
probably
the
not.
Georgians managed to survive mercury?
Oh, do you know what? I've probably mentioned this on a previous podcast. I hope I haven't, but I may have done. One of my favorite facts in life. I learned it when I was going through Powderham Castle.
Yeah.
Do you know that they used to have big, huge pieces of horn that were poking up against the wall, and they were from narwhals. Do you know the fact about the narwhal horn?
Yeah. Yeah.
About what they used to do with it in medieval settings? Yeah. Fucking incredible, right? You shave it into you take a very small chip of it and you pass it into a wine glass, and it would show you most poisons that would have been used by the court at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fucking incredible.
It's crazy how advanced people were back in the day.
Yeah, it's one of the things that
Going back to your comment about alcohol
Mm.
and about like sort of people who have been using alcohol for ages. The reason why people would drink alcohol back in the 1300s and the 1400s was because water wasn't viable. Water wasn't drinkable.
Oh yeah.
So what they'd have to do is they'd have to basically distill and sterilize the water. And the only way you could sterilize the water was through barley and yeast. There's
Well,
the
it's
only
called
way.
boiling.
Yeah. So you'd boil. You'd basically get the.
I was going to say that's not strictly true because it's not through barley and yeast. It's through.
Well, no,
they did that because it meant that they can brew beer.
No,
and what you do is when you brew beer means that you have to heat it, and not only that, but you also create alcohol, and alcohol is a sterile substance. So it meant that they used to try and brew the alcoholic content as high as they possibly could because it would kill microbes and bacterial and any viral content.
I saw this the other day. I saw this video, and this is why I bring it up because I saw this video on the production of beer and ale.
Yeah.
Back in sort of the medieval times.
Yeah.
And what they would do is that they'd get the barley seeds, and they'd rake them out into an even area. They'd water them, and then they'd leave them for a week. After a week, they'd start sprouting. They'd start growing into what we'd normally see as barley leaves. They'd stop it and they'd kill that growth straight away. And what they'd do is that they would boil it and they'd heat it up to kill any leaves or any sprouting.
Yeah, you have to
heat it. They'd heat it up, and then they'd get it into a boiling pot, and they'd start to boil it, which would help to sterilize the water.
Yeah.
Right. And then they'd add any herb extract that they had. They'd add that into the water, help that to boil it in as well. And then they'd add in a yeast extract.
Yeah.
After essentially sieving the water out.
Mm-hmm.
So they sieve the water out using cloth, essentially, so that the leaves wouldn't then fall into the alcohol or into the liquid, and then they put in the yeast extract, get that swirled around, heat that up again, and then once that's been all heated up, they then store it in butts, and then they would let that ferment. But the strongest stuff, so the stuff that came out immediately from the boiling, would be the strongest alcohol, which they take to court to be used at parties. But the less strongest stuff was the day-to-day drinking of the medieval peasants.
Yeah,
that's what they'd use, and they drink 6 pints of ale a day.
Yeah,
but it wasn't enough to get them pissed. It was enough to keep them aware.
Yeah,
but it was enough to keep them hydrated as well, because it was water just with barley and yeast. It wasn't like the alcohol we know today. Which is brewed in a very different way.
It's rumored that it was roughly between about 2 and 4%, and which is also as well. If you look, another very interesting one as well, which is the times beyond that as well, which is where we get things like grog and whatnot from. If you look at I don't know if I mentioned it on one of the previous podcasts as well, but it's one of the things I'm reading a book at the moment, about halfway through it, and it's called Your Mind on Plants, and it's written by a gentleman called Michael Pollan, ironically, and he writes about the change in human society from essentially us being veritable drunkards as a society, all the way up to a huge schism to the era of enlightenment, which has obviously moved into the Victorian era.
Yeah.
And it can be attributed to one mainline factor, which is not just trade, but it's caffeine. And caffeine came about through trade in 3 main formats, which was, well, technically 4, but one of which, of course, was the sugar trade, which is kind of unto itself. And then you had coffee, tea, and cocoa, all 4 of which all came within the same rough 100-year period. And then at that point, you get pubs and bars start changing from those into tea houses, tea and coffee houses. It was the first of their era. With no,
this was more sort of 16 to 1700s. That's when he started having the mass production and exportation of tea.
Well, it's more 17, 18, but yeah, which is the era of Enlightenment, and then we move from that into the Victorian era, which is it's such a huge change in human evolution in terms of society that we can pretty much quite nicely attribute it to these factors being introduced into the human population. So essentially we're kind of almost sobering up society. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but that was introduced in relevant time frames only a few hundred years ago. You know, the time frame I was talking about, you're looking more to 1400s. You're looking at the time of King Richard III.
Yours is as a result of what's known as the Black Death, which is the first Black Death, and there's actually two Black Deaths. Well, bubonic plague.
Even without plague, the water was still contaminated and undrinkable, which is why they would drink ale.
Yes, which is obviously typhoid and cholera. Yeah, naturally, which were the two of the main proponents of that. You're completely right. But those are two of the things that go. We're basically agreeing on the same thing here. Yeah,
just in a different way.
Yeah. I'm saying it's amazing though that human civilization moves forwards from those eras of taking. And the other thing as well is that the other thing about coffee and tea and cocoa is that they require immense amounts of roasting and boiling processes. You need to boil water before you actually have them.
Yeah.
So and it's another reason why the proverb about the Western gent who with horrible teeth, as it comes from drinking probably lots too much tea or coffee. Or another one as well is that opium also came onto the scene during the same time as well. You had opium houses.
Yeah, well, you see reference to that in Sherlock Holmes. Yeah, in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, you see references in one of the stories to the opium houses where he's trying to solve a case.
Yeah, and he is an opium addict as a character.
He's a cocaine addict. Yeah. He's not an opium addict. He's a cocaine addict.
He's an opioid addict as well.
No, I know this because I've got the books.
So have I.
I've listened to all of them on Audible.
Yeah.
He's a cocaine addict and he uses opium for a very short period of time during one of his investigations, but he's not an opium addict himself. No. He's a cocaine addict, yes, most definitely, but not an opium addict.
Yeah, he injects it, I think, quite a few
he injects cocaine.
I always thought it was we took laudanum, I think, which is an opioid, do you know what laudanum is? Yeah, exactly. He does take laudanum.
No, if you listen carefully to the signal of the sign of the four short story, which was released just after a study in Scarlet back in 1896, I believe it was. There's mention to Sherlock Holmes having a lull in his cases coming in, and Dr. John Watson writes about him injecting cocaine to keep his mind sturdy. There's only one reference, which I believe was written in 1906 during another collection of short stories with Sherlock Holmes, where he's mentioned about spending a lot of time in opium houses because he's looking to sort out a case. So he spends a lot of time in the opium houses and develops somewhat of a liking to opium, but doesn't become an addict. He uses it during the specific time that he needs to, but then he drops it and goes back to the cocaine.
Yeah, but it's still an
because
addiction,
back then cocaine was a more...
Well, he's a mythical character, whether or not you want to. Or
he's
not,
a fictional character,
exactly.
But the way, you'll see this, the way people think about Sherlock Holmes, you think he's a real character. The way that he was written and the way Dr. John Watson was written is very much he seems like a real character. But again, going back to the drug usage, he was a cocaine addict, but not in fictional terms, but he was not an opium addict. And I've completely forgotten where this conversation even stemmed from.
I tell you what, if you don't want to use opium addict, then in terms of what we might,
he was a user.
I was going to say, I would definitely define him as a just under prolific user of it. Because it's more than a few times as well. Because I remember one of the ones where he's with the one where it's the carriage driver The one where it's the carriage driver. He's on some form of furniture in his flat, and he injects not cocaine but heroin into his arm.
That was A Study in Scarlet.
I think I'm pretty sure it is a study in Scarlet, but yeah, that's really
that
good.
that was the
one.
first
But
Sherlock
he
Holmes
doesn't
story.
he doesn't use it to solve a case or anything. He just uses it
Keeps
because
it
he's
in
like,
mind as long.
I was going to
keeps in
say
mind
he says,
alert.
"Oh, I'm just gonna fucking have some heroin." So he just fucking does it, or
Yeah,
opium,
and
type, yeah.
keeps his mind alert.
Yeah,
But he's more known for being a cocaine addict.
yeah.
And using cocaine
Yeah.
to keep his mind.
Didn't snort it back then, did they?
No, they injected it. It was very different back then.
No.
I mean, cocaine can be both snorted, injected, and smoked.
Yeah.
And nowadays, anyway.
Yeah.
Heroin is still very much injected. It's not really smoked. It's very much injected. The same with opium.
Well, it was in a very different mass-produced format back then. I'm not too sure how they used to obtain it in terms of its powder form. But the other thing as well is that when you get it in its powder form, you normally combine it. You normally turn it into a liquid basis in order to inject it. So it normally comes in the powder form.
Yeah.
So you kind of have that option. Opium's a bit more complicated though as well. I don't know how we on earth we got onto this topic though. I'm permanently fascinated by this. I could talk about.
We're on the topic of drugs and alcohol and whatnot.
I'd love to get somebody who's an absolute authority on all of this. To be fair, as well though, I might get my brother on at some point. My oldest brother, he's a pharmacist,
right?
And so I'd love to get him on my podcast. Just sit and just chat about drugs, really, to be honest, in the current kind of like state about what unfortunately he wouldn't be. There's many things he probably wouldn't be able to talk about, but he's absolutely
confidentiality,
naturally, but I mean it would probably be mostly down to kind of like patient confidentiality. In terms of mass utilization or anything like that, I'm sure that you'd probably be able to fetch some form of a Anyway, what we have you had more input on your
We haven't. No.
On your is that your TikTok right now then?
Yeah? That is, yeah. So
it's
live on TikTok at the moment. We're not getting too much in terms of it.
No.
But early days.
I'm not too bothered.
I don't go live often enough to warrant getting regular viewers in. So
that's fine. I'm not too bothered about gaining kind of like any format of huge traction on anything. I do this because I really like doing it, and
podcasts are fun because you get to talk, you get to really kind of ingest yourself in conversation.
And this is a proper conversation. This is bar the fact that we've got a camera and microphones. This is a proper conversation between two people, and the great thing about it is that you lose yourself.
Yeah,
you
forget about
yourself.
Camera, you forget about microphones.
Absolutely,
you just chat.
You absolutely, and it's a somebody versus someone else, and you eventually at some point one of you is going to say something where, and it's another thing where I like having I don't know, I would say that I'm quite good at having a drink with people because I can always go like right. I always go like have a little bit of something just to get me in
a buzz,
exactly a buzz, and then I go right, what we doing? Like, I like feeling, I like setting kind of like where are we going to lie together, sort of thing in terms of a conversational, not just boundary, but like where are we going to end up going with this?
Yeah. Oh. My live access has been suspended.
But anyway, like
apparently my live access has been suspended for violating our illegal activities and regulated goods policy.
Oh,
it's because we're talking about drugs. That's why.
Oh, right. It's not fucking illegal at all. This is not illegal to talk about drugs and any fucking. We're talking about it. We're not sitting here injecting heroin. We're not taking cocaine. We're not encouraging that anybody else should do it.
It's because we were talking about it. That's why.
Oh, okay. It's if you.
Never mind.
Another one as well is that if you talk about like COVID for too long, then you start getting flagged for discussing COVID regulations and whatnot. COVID. Drugs. Kick me off the air. I don't care. I'll find another way of fucking doing this shit. I do this because I like doing it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Absolutely.
Oh well. Never mind.
I don't do this for monetary access. I do it for the thought that people are going to be interested in logging on and looking at it. A worst case scenario, I can start my own website and then just upload the videos there. And if people don't want to fucking watch it, then they don't have to fucking watch it. I do it through YouTube because of the fact that it's got a nice viewership access. And I like YouTube. At least I think I do anyway. I mean, they're quite strict at that point, but hey, they got to find some way of stopping porn from just fucking becoming everyday stuff. And hey, I loved YouTube growing up anyway, so you know,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of glad that you can't just go on there and just go like naked people, you know. It's probably for the best. But yeah, apologies if our conversation has got you banned from your live access.
I've just
there,
been
but...
suspended until the 30th. That's all. Week banned from going live.
Oh, okay.
And I don't go live anyway, so that's not going to bother me.
As I said, you can upload videos. They're still right.
Yeah.
No, fuck them then. Absolutely. Fucking freedom of speech, bitches. We're talking about stuff. We're talking about it. We're talking about it as human beings.
I think it's because we were talking about drugs. That's all
Absolutely.
it was.
We're talking about as human beings would. We're not going to encourage anybody from doing anything. We're just saying, like, look, if you're not an asshole in life, like if you don't let something destroy you and it makes your life better actively, then I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
The same, it goes for anything.
Goes both ways.
It goes for anything as well. It, like, as if you don't hurt anybody and you make people's lives around you better because you're a better person and it works in the long run, and there's not, you know, that then I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with it, and there's many things that are probably reasonably quite taboo things that I'd go like I would feel the same way about. I really do. You know, like oh my god, like it's the same thing for me that probably goes for, like, you know, like there is an answer for every question that works for human beings. It's just we need to, as a civilization, and you need to try and test a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if you just put a blanket over everything instead of talking about it, then you lose the ability to understand it.
Yeah.
If you just go, oh, right, oh, fucking cocaine. Oh, let's fucking put that in the fire and try and never talk about it again. Oh, really? Have you just banished all cocaine on the planet? Have you just solved the issue of what that is, a drug? No, you haven't. There's going to be a load of people that are going to illegally do it. You'll never fucking get them because they'll be like fucking, like, it'll be like trying to get rid of rats forever or coyotes. There'll be more of them than you can possibly imagine. And it's got a huge customer basis to it. So you're going to have to find a way around it. Do I know the answer? Fuck, do I know what the fuck to do about it? But I'm saying that pretending it doesn't exist, or just trying to put every single person that's ever going to have anything even remotely associated with it in jail is definitely not the answer.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm just saying that you've been doing this for so long and it's not the answer. Like, I don't know what the answer is, but like, I'm saying, I'm not just saying that for cooking. I'm saying it for, look, fucking heroin, methamphetamine, fucking maybe alcohol needs to be looked at. I don't know, fucking marijuana. I don't know, everything. I'm saying just have a discussion. Have a discussion. It's not on the table. We're not doing it. I'm saying have a discussion. And it's through mediums like this, through everyday assholes like me who have no idea what on earth they're talking about, who just hear the names of things sometimes, that maybe we can come to some form of beginning of a discussion or understanding or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, you know.
I think we're going to take a cigarette break very quickly.
No worries. Yeah. You okay continuing on for a bit longer?
Yeah, sure.
Wake up.
I'll just stay out the front door.
No worries. Yeah, go for it.
I can still speak from here.
So yeah.
Doors, you know what I mean?
But anyway, that's my personal ethos on drugs, drug culture, and how, as a society, we personally view drugs. Absolutely. And my friend over here has just been banned for a week on live access for even talking about this. So this is the sort of age that we live in, whereby you, me, and the gatepost know that is not the only place that is going to do that to us. YouTube has flagged me before for discussing COVID-related things just because I had an opinion on it. I didn't exercise anything on it. I didn't say everybody should go and get vaccinated and not get vaccinated. I didn't say anything like that. I mean, if I did, I was probably drunk. I know you've got the recording of it, but well, at the end of the day, I hope that I hope that the freedom of speech is always given to everybody, not just some of us, because even a great person once said that
help will always be found to those who ask.
Oh,
Help will always be given to those who ask for it. To quote Dumbledore.
So a great person once said that even if I don't agree with what you're saying, I die for your right to say it. And I think that's a very proper way to look at existence. I think it helps society.
Help will always be given at Hogwarts.
Yes, we heard you. We heard you. It's definitely interesting times that we live in, and unique to say the least. And it's an incredible amalgamation of styles as well. It's something that I think we've all must have noticed, those of us that leave our houses and see or have mild interests in fashion, function, and how we carry ourselves as human beings. There's this humongous resurgence of 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, and even 1920s fashion from all over the different decades. Even, fucking pirates, goths, emos, vampires, everything under the sun. Nothing is no longer taboo in terms of what we wear anymore. And that used to be in so many different eras, scowled at and demanded of judgment and all sorts of other like ridiculous radical bullshit from people who made the rules, who nobody ever asked their opinion of, and here they never studied anything. I can't do. Nope.
I'll transfer to Facebook instead.
And to look further into this, it's how people want that I figured out recently that so much of my life has been gauged towards just trying to get more free. And think and judge that immediately however you are without listening to what I have to say. But I'm going to say it now. I feel like so much of my life has been understanding that I need to work really fucking hard to be free. I need to get involved in the system so that I can get the money to get the place to become free. And I fucked up by not wandering into the information that educated me on that beforehand, so that before I entered the system, that got me a name and a badge and a and a payroll and a pension and a place to sit in society, that I now have to do that. It's now what I'm, not what's just expected of me, but what I have to do. I have to go to work. I have to work. I have to earn the money to buy the place, to get a stable living situation so that I can continue to work until eventually I obtain freedom, until eventually I obtain a point where I'm probably going to be about 70, 80 years old, where I've got about roughly 10 good years, or maybe not, about 10 reasonably quite brain addled and old people disabled years left on me, regardless of how good the fucking living situation's becoming and personal health and whatnot. I'm probably going to have like 1 year of playing tennis that's not working, because I worked all the way up to that point where eventually I had the money to afford rent, bills, utilities, and all that shit, which was my pension.
You will get freedom in death.
And that's what it feels like. It feels like I've entered into a contract that I never wanted to sign, that I never knew how bad it was going to be. And who's the name of that? Who's the name of that bird from the Netherlands, or what's it from a few years
Greta
ago?
Thunberg?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Her anger and everything. She's got. You might not agree with everything that fucking lady says, but she's got a fucking point. I never signed up for any of this. I never wanted to turn up and expect, so much of a fucked up situation to.
My great
turn up on.
grandfather used to say the only two things you can expect in life are death and taxes.
Yeah, that's one of those ones as well. And we've steadily built up this huge collection of sayings, which just the moment that it doesn't provide any form of like solace or hope for the future generation, which is us. And we're in the thick of it now. We're working to undo the bullshit fucking regimes put forwards by the previous people and administrations. And all we get is sorry, and that's life, and oh, that's a shame, and oh, fucking privilege and whatnot. You never fucking asked. Go fuck yourself. How about that, huh? How about that? Fuck you. Fucking judging me. I never fucking asked. I just fucking rolled up one day and it was go fuck yourself.
We were given a free trial until we turned 18, 20 years old, and then we're just expected to go from there and do it on our own.
I'm not saying anybody's fucking not having a worse time than me. Never fucking saying that. Plenty of people. But it doesn't fucking change my fucking situation and situations of the vast majority of everybody else who are also having a fucking shitty time because the previous people. Can we put the focal lens on that? Because I'm turning up and I'm willing to help. I'm turning up, I'm grabbing a shovel, I'm willing to shovel shit here, motherfucker. And you're just making the pile bigger. And anyway, sorry, that's my fucking 2 cents on all of that. And I will have more to say on that on more podcasts to come forwards on existence and happiness and whatnot. Because all I want to do is I just want to make music. And I only discovered that until later on in life. And until that point, it was too late. And all I've got now is it's too late for you. And it's just sometimes it feels like
you make the most of what you're given.
Exactly. And sometimes it just feels like you're fucking handcuffed to a ship that's going down.
Captain always goes down with a ship.
Yeah.
You make the most of what you're given, and you do what you can with the utilities that you've been provided with.
Yeah.
I've resigned myself to that fact. That you can only work with what you're given. You can only work with the resources and materials that you've been provided with, and you build whatever you can out of those. Sometimes you get given extra resources, sometimes you have them taken away, and you've got to work with what you've got at the present time. And you'll find that in life, regardless of what you do and where you go, who you talk to, who you're with, who you marry, who you're friends with, who you're enemies with. You can only work with what you've been given in life. And if you can get through life and at your deathbed say, I've done all that I can, then that's what you've done. You can't ask for anything more than what can feasibly be provided to you. So in the way I've worked with life so far, I mean, I'm 30 years old, so I'm a couple of years older than you are. Only by like 2 or 3 years.
I'm probably just less now. I think I'm 28 now.
But in terms
you're
of
just less than shy of 2 years older than me.
In terms of life and the way things have progressed, I'm certainly not in the same place that my parents were. My parents were married and already had a child by the time I came along, and they were only in their mid to late 20s when they had me, and they were already far further ahead in life than I currently am. I'm currently renting, moving into we're only just buying a place, and I'm 30, and my wife's going to be 30 next year. You know, we're having a child, and we're certainly not in the position that our forebears were when it came to properties. My parents were able to get a property on 100% mortgage. My grandparents were able to get a place on 100% mortgage. They were able to get so much more than what we currently have because of the circumstance that they found themselves in.
The times they're living in.
The times that they were living in meant that was possible.
Yeah.
In the times that we currently live in, it's not possible. We were living what's called generation rent, where our generation, millennials or Gen Z, are in the financial situation where we can't afford to buy a place because wages, the spatial difference between wages and house prices is astronomical.
Cost of anything.
It's just astronomical, the difference between wages and property prices. Property prices back 20 years ago, you can get a 3-bedroom property in Gosport for £90,000, right? 30 years later, you can get the same property for 335, right? That's how much things have gone up. How much have our wages gone up? Back 30 years ago in the 90s, you could get your own place on a wage of £23,000 a year. Now, as a single person, you have to be on a wage of in excess of £40,000 just to get a 1-bedroom property.
Yeah, 1 bedroom. Yeah,
without a guarantor.
Yeah.
Without having to go through all the affordability checks. You have to be in either a shared ownership or buying with someone else now to even be within the realms or even within the universe of being able to buy a property on your own merit. You know, you have to do it with other people now. You can't just do it on your own anymore. And I think that's the problem that we find ourselves in, is that everything's gone up so fast and our pay has not. Our cost of living has gone up. Our way of living has gone up. Our pay hasn't. Everything's becoming much more expensive. Bread, 20 years ago, we were looking about 85p for a loaf of bread. It's now £1.40. If you go for Warburton's toasty, right? 8 years ago, that was £1. It's now £1.40. I know that because I always buy it. Right? We don't go for anything else. We go for Warburton's toasty if we can, because that's the one we like. That's gone up by 50p in the last 8 years. Now that doesn't sound like a lot. Doesn't sound like much at all. 50p. Oh, that's not that's not bank breaking, is it? But then when you include that in all other essential purchases that you need to make in life, on milk, on meat, on vegetables, the price of them, when you put everything together, rather than spending 60 quid on 2 weeks shopping, you're spending 100.
Yeah.
And add that up per week, that's an extra 160 quid you're spending on groceries per month.
Yeah.
And some people, that's the difference between being able to live and having to use food banks.
Yeah.
In order to survive. And it's unjustifiable. And something needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We need some way of finding a way to live that's not like this, because the fucking cost of absolutely everything is just bullshit. It doesn't make any it doesn't make any sense if you just if you wake up one day and you forget the history behind all of it and you just go, oh, by the way, how hard do I need to work in order to afford a day's living? So if you take everything that you have to pay for and you condense it down into how much you actually have to spend every day of your life in order to exist.
Well, let's put it
astronomical.
Let's put it into perspective, right? So I earn £22,500 a year with my job, right? That means I get paid maybe £1,500 a month, right? As my pay. Not taking into consideration gross pay, not taking into consideration overtime or performance bonuses or anything like that. 1,500 quid, right? Let's say you're a single person and you rent, right? And let's say it's not London prices, because London prices are astronomical in their own right. Say I'm living where I am in Worthing, right? The place I'm renting now is £850 a month, right? But in terms of Worthing, that is below market average. Let's say market average is £1,000, right? Let's just put it up to a round figure. Let's say it's £1,000. So already 2/3 of your pay has gone towards rent, right?
Yeah.
Which in itself is shit. That shouldn't happen, right? Then taking into consideration your council tax. Say council tax is £140. That's another £140. Your gas and electric bill, depending on if you're on a fixed tariff or if you want to pay monthly, that could be changed astronomical. But let's say that's £80, right? For your gas and electric. Got your internet, depending on what thing you're on. Your internet could obviously be different. But let's say internet is
good.
Is good.
£30.
£30, right? So £30 for electric. Monthly groceries. We've already said that could be in excess of £160 a month, right? So that's another £160 for groceries a month.
That's loads more than that,
right?
Groceries a week is going to be about £120, £170.
Okay, so let's say you're really diligent and you go for only essentials, right? Only
£80.
Like you can say you get Asda essentials only, right? And which is usually cheaper, right? And you live off the same thing every week. That's another £200 from your paycheck. You've already reached your limit, right? What else are you going to live on for the rest of the month? Say you smoke, say you drink. How much more can you put towards, living? Say you've got a child, and a child wants to go out and do things. What are you left with as a single person to be able to look after that child? You then have to rely on another person's pay to even think about doing anything that you want to be able to do in life. We've got to a point now where the best we can do is survive.
Yep.
The best we can do is buy the food that we need and work, which is what our government's looking at. That's all they want from us, is just survive and pay our taxes.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm earning £1,500 a month, I'm left with probably £60 for the rest of the month to spend on what I want to spend. Right? Cigarettes, 30 g pack of gold leaf, £12, £13. So you're down to 47. All right. So you have one drink. You buy one pack of beer a week. Say you buy Budweiser, 6-pack of Budweiser, right? To have on a Friday or Saturday. That's £5.50.
I was going to say £6.74.
Right.
From your offie.
From your offie, between 5 or 6 quid.
6-pack, you want to be about £6.
So that's 40 quid. Right? You're down to 40 quid a month for just yourself. Right? What if you need to buy new clothes? What if you have a situation, like a dire situation that needs paying for? You can't then afford it. You're then having to rely on your family. You're then having to rely on other people to lend you money.
Yeah,
it's not a sustainable environment that we can live in.
Tent City's not looking so bad.
Mate, just fucking not existing is not living so bad.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking hell, dude.
And this is the worry I have for the future generations. This is the worry I have for my own child. Is that if things carry on the way they are, my child will not be able to survive as a single person. They'll be at home until they're 30. And do you really want that?
And who could blame them in the current fucking...
My wife has already said when they're 18, we're kicking them out. I don't believe in that. I believe they need to stay with us as long as they need to. But there's a limit. There's a limit to what people can do.
Yeah. There's a limit to how long a child should stay with you, I believe, with that. But there's also... There's no limit to how much you should help them. There's no limit to how much you should help them. There's no limit to how much you should love them and care for them.
A child shouldn't have to stay with their parents past the age of 21.
They should have in them instilled. I mean, like I don't know, like you should have like a sense of pride where you're like, no, I can't have mum and dad fucking paying my bills all my life. That's weird. No, because it's not a sustainable
But then you're looking at sentimentality. You know, you're looking at
for life.
You're looking at an objective version of life. You know, and some kids don't have that. As I said, it's a utopia for us to believe that any child shouldn't have to live with their parents past the age of 21. That's what I believe. They shouldn't.
Yeah.
They should be able to get on and get moving with their life, whether they go to university and then find a place after their own after that, or whether they just move out into their own place. Once you reach 21, you should be old enough, big enough, and ugly enough to look after yourself.
When did you leave home?
I left home at 20. And I went to uni. I never went home afterwards.
Yeah.
I went home for a summer after my first year at uni. I went home for a summer, and then I went back to uni. After I finished my second year, me and my other half moved in together. We moved into a flat. We rented a flat. That's what we did because it was the only thing we could do because she was leaving uni that year. If we wanted to stay together, that was the best outcome we could come across. But even then, we bought a poxy 1-bedroom flat, which is barely enough to contain us both, for 625 quid. And the only reason we managed to afford that was because of my university grant, my university loans. That's the only reason we managed to afford it in the early years. We managed to afford it afterwards because I managed to get into a full-time job afterwards. That's the only reason how we managed to keep it. And I was working a part-time job alongside uni, which is expected. When you're a uni student, you should be expected to work whilst you're studying uni as well. It gives you a sense of life. It helps you learn life in general, and it helps you learn that in most cases you have to work. You do have to work.
I didn't work on the side of uni. I worked a little bit my third year. I didn't work really any.
I did. Me and my wife, we both worked throughout uni, right? I didn't start working at uni until midway through my second year.
Yeah.
My first year, I thought I was the be all, right? And I thought I could do it, and I couldn't. I spunked my student loan. I ended up having to rely on my parents to buy me groceries. After that, I had an epiphany. Most people don't.
I didn't.
I had an epiphany and said, I can't do that. I can't keep doing that. I can't keep asking my parents for money. And since then, I've never asked my parents for a dime. I've never asked my parents for a penny. Mate. You know, they've offered it, but I've never asked for it. Because I believed in graft. I believed in grafting my way up. But for some people, that's not possible. For some people, they do have to rely on their parents' help. But they shouldn't have to. We should be in a position where people can get their own place on a single wage. We should be in a place where people don't have to worry about what they're spending a month on groceries, what they're spending a week on food. We shouldn't have to get into a place where people are having to rely on using food banks as a family just to be able to feed their kids and just be able to feed themselves. We shouldn't be in that position. We shouldn't be, as a country, in that position. We are a top 20 country in terms of, you know, Western civilization. We are seen as one of the best countries in the world to live in. I'm not sure why. Because we have one of the worst living standards in the entirety of Western civilization, in the entirety of Europe. We're not in the EU anymore, but we're still considered as a European country. And we have some of the worst living standards in the European countries. We have some of the worst pay rates. We have the worst mortality rates. We have some of the worst infant mortality rates. We have the worst pay per job capita. We have the worst corporation. We have the lowest corporation tax, but one of the highest tax on per wage. And it's something we cannot sustain. We're becoming hugely Americanized. I will not be surprised if in the next 10 years our NHS is sold off and we're having to pay to see our GP and having to pay 10,000 plus just to have a fucking baby. And it's just not sustainable. It's not. We can't live like that. We can't live like that at all.
I agree. Absolutely. Well said.
Something needs to fucking change.
Well said.
And it's not going to be us. Us as people have suffered enough. It's our government and the people who run the state of the country and the state of the economy that needs to change. If they don't change soon enough, there's going to be a fucking revolution. I won't be surprised if they manage to be a successful November 5th on our hands. You look at V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
I can see something like that happening soon if something doesn't change. how's the parliament are going to be successfully blown up? Yes, we have the different.
Hugo Weaving for Prime Minister.
Like, bring Obama here. I would happily accept Barack Obama as our Prime Minister.
Ugh.
He did so much for America, even with a Republican background. You know, he put through Obamacare. And guess who turned that over? Who repealed that? Fucking Donald Trump. The honey badger of American politics. No matter what you did to him, he would not fucking budge. And now we have Joe Biden, who falls asleep in conferences. You know, American politics has been at its worst, and so is British politics. If something doesn't change soon, we're going to see a revolution on our hands.
We have moved full circle back to politics again, though.
That's what happens when we drink. That's what happens when we drink.
Well, I was going to say I never end up talking about politics normally when I drink, but yeah,
it's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, it's very passionate about it. You brought it up 3, maybe 4 times this podcast, man. Absolutely, yeah.
I'm passionate about change. I'm passionate about politics.
Absolutely,
and getting the right things in. As a person, the only thing I can do is vote.
Well, Ben, I think somebody has to be. So if that someone's new, then fucking more grease to your elbow, mate, and more luck to you, bro.
Well, you're seeing more of it. You're seeing the rail guys.
Oh God! Don't get me started on fucking rail. Listen, dude, I'm getting very hungry. This has been a fantastic first podcast. We've nearly done 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been fantastic. I'm gonna fucking have to call it there.
Yeah, no worries.
I need to go and have some dinner.
To be honest, I could go all day.
And I know you could. I know you probably just fucking sit on both of the mop heads whilst they were there. I did, just to finish on it really quickly, I did love that mural of Donald Trump and Boris Johnson that somebody did. I have no idea it was in the world making out with each other.
The blonde badger and the honey badger coming together.
I thought it was very interesting. Anyway, is there anything else you want to close on today for your TikTok or anything? I've been so grateful for you coming on here today, man. It's been fucking awesome. Thank you.
No
honestly, is there anything else you wanted to mention at all before you kick
I like trains.
You like trains?
I like trains.
Excellent. I liked what trains used to be. I wish we could bring back the bar cart, like the really like full on palatial bar cart in all of them, but sadly I think there's a few people that might ruin that for everybody. But anyway, fucking fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. That was fucking awesome, man. And thank you for everybody that's listened today. So you're all rock and roll, and thank you very much. It's nice to have Biscotti Conversations back. I expect to have a few more people coming on in the next few months, and definitely trying to get Ben's beautiful ass on as soon as I possibly can again. All right, see you, everybody.
Bye-bye.